So, you have a Spider-Man movie for me?
Yes, sir, I do, and it's gonna be all about Spider-Man.
Oh, that sounds perfect.
I thought you might like that.
So what happens in the movie?
Well, it starts with Peter Parker as a nerd in high school, and this is one of those cool high schools where everybody's 30 years old.
Those are the best kind.
And one day they go on a
30
class trip
years
to
old.
look at science stuff, right? And there are a bunch of radioactive spiders there, but one of them is missing.
That can't be good.
Yeah, and so Peter's gonna get bit by it, this big red and blue one.
Oh my god, what does everybody say?
Oh, well, he doesn't tell anyone, he keeps it to himself.
He gets bitten by an obviously radioactive spider and doesn't ask if he should seek medical attention.
Exactly.
That's right.
Oh, very irresponsible.
And then he's gonna go home and feel real sick.
So he's gonna ask for help then, right?
No, he's gonna go to his room, close the door, pass out, and wake up with superpowers.
Oh, that's amazing, and it's actually a really good message for kids.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, if you ever feel so sick that you might pass out, lock yourself in your room alone and maybe you'll wake up with superpowers.
That's a very good point, sir.
So what powers does he develop?
Oh, he gets this really cool occasional spider sense.
Occasional spider sense?
Yeah, well, sometimes in the script I have it not be a thing so he can get surprised by stuff.
Extremely unreliable superpowers.
Yeah, and his main power is the ability to shoot webs.
But he makes the web shooters himself, like in the comics, right?
No, we're gonna have them be organic because of the spider bite.
So the web fluid comes from inside him?
Yeah.
Where's that fluid stored inside his body?
Oh, you don't want to know.
What are you talking about?
Sorry, I was just checking to see if I developed Jedi mind powers. It's stored in his balls.
Oh, the balls. Okay, I got you.
Anyway, so obviously Peter wants to keep his powers a secret, right?
Of course.
So one of the first things he does is a triple backflip in front of all the other 30-year-olds at school.
Very discreet.
And he's also gonna make himself a crappy costume.
Yeah, well, I guess a high school kid wouldn't have any costume design skills.
Right, but after
Oh
Uncle
my
Ben dies,
God.
he's gonna get really good at it out of nowhere and make this amazing looking
Out
spider
of nowhere.
Oh, well, people grieve in different ways, you know. Lots of people cry and lots of other people become very skilled at making costumes.
That is very common.
So who's the bad guy in this thing?
Oh, it's this
my
guy
God.
Norman Osborn, and he's gonna turn
That
into the
got me.
Green Goblin.
Sounds scary.
Yeah, he has these bombs that turn people into skeletons.
Oh man, it's gonna be tough for Spider-Man to win when the bad guy has those.
Actually, it's gonna be super easy, barely an inconvenience.
Oh, really?
Yeah, see, Green Goblin's never gonna use those again, so it's not even
Ever
gonna be an
again.
issue.
Oh, wow, that does make things a whole lot easier.
It sure does. So anyway, Green Goblin's gonna ask Spider-Man if he wants to team up with him and be evil together.
Oh, and if Spider-Man says no, he's gonna kill him?
Yeah, but he's gonna be really cool about it. He's gonna be like, you know what, take your time, think about it, and if you want to be evil together, hit me up.
Very considerate.
Yeah, and later he's gonna hide in a fire and surprise Spider-Man like, hey, did you think about my offer?
Oh, surprising people at fires is tight. That's where I had my grandma's 70th birthday.
In a fire?
Yeah, she was so surprised. She kept on screaming and screaming.
Probably because of the fire.
Maybe, but mostly the surprise, I think. So what else
think.
happens in the movie?
Well, Peter's in love with this girl MJ, but she's dating his friend Harry
Screaming and
Osborn.
Oh,
screaming.
bummer.
Yeah, but he's gonna save her as Spider-Man, and they're gonna share this romantic upside-down kiss.
Infidelity doesn't count if it's upside down.
Exactly, so she's still a good person.
Fantastic.
Although she does also kiss him at Harry's dad's funeral.
Oh, well, kissing at funerals is super romantic, so that's still cool.
Right, good point.
But I guess he doesn't say anything to her as Spider-Man, so she doesn't recognize his voice, right?
Actually, not only is he gonna speak to her, but he's gonna repeat the same thing he said to her as Peter Parker 30 seconds earlier about being in the neighborhood.
And she doesn't recognize him?
She's not the brightest, sir.
Yeah, I guess not.
Anyway, so later Green Goblin is gonna dangle a tram car full of kids on one side of a bridge and MJ on the other.
So this happens during the day?
No, it happens at night.
Why were there a bunch of kids in a tram car at night?
They were on one of those nighttime field trips, I guess.
Oh, well, that's not a real thing.
Okay.
Whoopsie, so who does Peter choose to save?
He chooses both.
Was that an option?
Yes.
Well, okay then.
So then there's gonna be a big final fight and Green
Just that
Goblin's
easy.
gonna accidentally kill himself.
Wow.
And so yeah, what do you think?
Well, it sounds like a lot of fun, and I have the perfect guy in mind to play Peter Parker.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, this guy Toby Maguire, he's gonna be the definitive Spider-Man. Nobody's ever gonna be able to replace him.
Amazing.
That's it.
From the studio that won't let Spider-Man team up with anyone else ever,
Ever.
comes the Godfather trilogy of superhero movies, in that the first two are great and the third one sucks ass.
Yeah.
The original Spider-Man trilogy. Prepare for an epic superhero trilogy featuring Spider-Man 1, a story about Peter Parker struggling with his powers, breaking up with Mary Jane, and battling a supervillain who ultimately kills himself.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2, a story about Peter Parker struggling with his powers, breaking up with Mary Jane, and battling a supervillain who ultimately kills himself. and Spider-Man 3, a story about Peter Parker struggling with his powers, breaking up with Mary Jane, and battling a supervillain who ultimately kills himself. Wait, did they just make the same movie 3 times in a row?
Oh my god.
Toby Maguire stars as Peter Parker, a boy with the face of a puppy and the voice of a smaller, less threatening puppy.
I cried like a baby when you played Cinderella.
When the student physicist journalist pizza delivery boy is bitten by a radioactive spider. Blah, blah, blah powers, blah, blah, blah responsibility.
Blah, blah, blah.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, dude, we get it. Watch Spider-Man soar with his trademark powers of wall crawling and web shooting, plus a few more like spider sense, occasionally.
Every now and then.
Costume design and spider
Costume
tears.
design.
Meet Mary Jane, the love of Peter's life and the worst girlfriend ever.
This isn't about you. This is about me.
Grow to hate her snaggletooth face as she cheats on her boyfriend with
Snaggletooth.
Spider-Man, cheats on her fiance with Peter Parker, and cheats on Peter Parker with his best friend. You'll wonder why anyone bothers to save her over and over and over and over and over and over
Oh my
again.
god.
You have a knack for saving my life.
Ride along as Spider-Man faces off against iconic supervillains who, despite billion-to-1 odds, all have a personal relationship with Peter Parker, like his professional mentor, Dr. Octopus, his uncle's killer, the Sandman, his rival co-worker, Venom, his best friend's dad, the Green Goblin, and his best friend, the other Green Goblin. Watch as these good men gone bad struggle with their inner demons the only way they know how. Golluming.
We
Gollum,
killed
man.
him. No, I'm not a criminal. The real crime would be not to finish what we started. Imagine if he joined us.
Ugh, his face looks a lot better with a mask on. So before you catch the next installment of the hipster reboot, settle in for 2 fun, innocent romps about a teenage superhero and a massive turd that managed to ruin Peter Parker, Venom, Gwen Stacy, and the entire franchise in one go. No. Stop. What's
Stop
happening?
it. No.
Why are you doing this? Please. Please. It's so lame. Oh, God, really?
It's so lame.
What? Oh, the humanity. Starring Spider-Man
Oh, my
Pooping,
God.
Osborn, the Great and Powerful, Kirsten Starst, Gwen Stefani, Will.I.am Defoe, Inspector Gadget,
Oh, Lord.
Bland Man, Groovy, Ashy Larry, Black Flubber, and Gopher Face, the Spider-Man Trilogy.
Oh my god.
Wuss. Be sure to subscribe for more honest trailers.
So, you have a Spider-Man sequel script for me?
Yes, sir, I do. So at the beginning of this movie, we're gonna have this whole big thing where Peter's having a bunch of time management and money problems.
Oh, he is?
Yeah, he's trying to balance being Spider-Man, being a student, paying his rent, being a photographer, and being a pizza delivery guy.
He's a pizza delivery guy now?
Yeah, but he's gonna lose his job if he doesn't deliver a bunch of emergency pizzas in like 7 minutes.
If he's having such big money problems, why doesn't he try to cash in on the Spider-Man
Exactly,
thing
I've
a
always
little,
thought that.
do an event or a public
Why
appearance
not?
or something?
Yeah, there are probably lots of ways he could use his Spider-Man powers to make money, but it would be totally unethical to do that, you know?
Doesn't he sell Spider-Man selfies to a newspaper for cash?
Well, yeah, but other than that, you know, completely unethical to make money using Spider-Man powers.
So how does he deliver the emergency pizzas?
Using his Spider-Man powers.
Oh.
Yeah, and Aunt May is also having money problems, and Peter's worried about her because she's all alone and she can't pay for the house.
So he moves back in with her and they pool their money together and all their problems are solved?
Well, no, because Spider-Man has to be downtown to do Spider-Man stuff.
Living with Aunt May didn't stop him from being Spider-Man in the first movie.
Well, it would stop him now for some reason.
Well, okay then. So what else happens in the movie?
Oh, well, at the beginning of the movie, we're gonna have Peter choose to not confess his love to MJ because of his responsibilities as Spider-Man, even though she's clearly into him.
Oh, isn't that literally how the first movie ended?
Yeah, we're gonna do it again, almost immediately.
Well, okay then.
And then later, this guy, Otto Octavius, is gonna be like, Peter, you know the way to a girl's heart is through poetry. And so Peter starts to study poetry.
What?
Why? To win over Mary Jane. But you said she's clearly into him and he turned her down. Oh, whoops. Whoopsie. Anyway, so this Otto Octavius guy is actually pretty important. Oh, and what's his deal? Well, he's creating this mini sun reactor thing that could provide sustainable energy for the whole planet. So he has a whole crowd gathered at his place to watch him turn it on for the first time. Seems like the kind of thing you do behind closed doors for the first time. Yeah, for sure, but instead he's gonna do it in a Manhattan skyscraper with a bunch of unguarded people watching. Interesting choice.
Okay.
And so as part of the project, he's made these crazy robot arms that he controls with his brain. And they have a little glass inhibitor chip so they don't take over his mind. Wow, well that's a world-changing invention right there. People watching must be freaking out. They literally have no reaction to it. Huh? Anyway, so the machine doesn't work and Otto's wife dies and the inhibitor chip gets destroyed. So the robot arms take control of his mind? They do. This is gonna be some awesome Terminator stuff. What does the evil AI want to do? It wants to rebuild a machine and create sustainable energy for all mankind. Oh, that's actually pretty noble, but like in an evil way. Oh, okay. So then Doc Ock realizes he needs money to buy the parts to rebuild the machine, so he decides to steal some. If he's okay with stealing, why doesn't he just go steal the stuff? Why go through the extra step of stealing money and making transactions? I don't know. Fair enough. So then later, Peter and Aunt May are at the bank, right? And out of all the banks in New York City, Doc Ock happens to rob that very same one at that very same time. Wow, what are the odds of that? Astronomical. Oh, astronomy is tight. I know, that's why I put it in there. Amazing. So then Spider-Man and Doc Ock are gonna have this big fight and exchange punches and kicks back and forth. So I guess Doc Ock's metal arms block all the punches? No, Spider-Man lands a whole bunch of punches and kicks. But Spider-Man has super strength and Doc Ock is just a guy with robot arms. Wouldn't a single punch knock him out or incapacitate him? You'd think so, but apparently the guy can take a hit. Impressive. So then Aunt May saves the day by hitting him with an umbrella. Oh, she does? Yeah, gets him real good. Wow. So later Doc Ock needs some tritium to build the machine, so he goes to see Harry Osborn, who's the one who gave him some earlier. Oh, so Harry gives it to him? No, he says, I'll tell you what, I'll give you some if you bring me Spider-Man alive. Why would he agree to a deal, though? He came to threaten Harry. This isn't a negotiation. Well, he's gonna agree, because Spider-Man has to be involved in the movie somehow. Oh yeah, Spider-Man does have to be involved. So then Harry tells Doc Ock Peter Parker can tell you where Spider-Man is. How come? Because he takes Spider-Man's picture sometimes, and that means they're super close. That is how photography works. So then Doc Ock tracks down Peter in a coffee shop with MJ. How does he find him? Unclear. Fair enough, and what does he do? Well, how did I get your attention when I walked in here? You threw a printer at the back of my head. Exactly. Throwing a heavy object at someone's head is the best way to let them know you want to talk. So what does Doc Ock throw? Well, he has super strong robot arms, so he throws a car. Whoa. Yeah, if Peter didn't have his Spidey sense, he'd be dead for sure. Doc Ock got super lucky that Peter Parker's secretly a superhero. Definitely. So then Peter stops a train with the power of constipation, and Doc Ock kidnaps MJ and brings Spider-Man to Harry. Oh, so what happens next? Well, Harry takes off Spider-Man's mask and he's like, Peter, you killed my dad in the first movie. So Peter's like, I didn't kill your dad. He tried to kill me and accidentally killed himself. No, he's like, Harry, there are bigger things happening here than me and you. Feels like that other sentence could have cleared everything up, though. Well, there's no time to say that one sentence, so he says the other one sentence instead. I guess that makes sense. So then Peter's like, Harry, you need to tell me where Doc Ock brought MJ. Does Harry even know that? No, he'd have no way of knowing, but somehow he tells him anyway. Wow. And then after a little fight, the mini-sun gets too powerful and they have to find a way to destroy it. Oh, is that gonna be hard to do? No, it's gonna be super easy, barely an inconvenience. Oh, really? Yeah, Dr. Octavius is like, I'm gonna dump it in the river, and then that immediately works. And what happens with Harry? Well, he's gonna go crazy and find his dad's old goblin stuff. Oh, what does he do with it? Well, we'll find out in the next movie. Whoa, hold on, we need to see if this one does well first. Maybe the success of the first one was a fluke. Oh, well, okay. Yeah, but if it does do well, we're gonna cram Spider-Man down people's throats for years. So, fingers crossed. So, you have a Spider-Man sequel script for me? Yes, sir, I do. So for this one, I really wanted to go all in on what people really loved about the first two movies. Oh yeah, a bunch of cool Spider-Man action? No, a bunch of relationship problems between Peter and MJ. Is that what people liked about the first two movies? Well, I certainly hope so, because we're gonna have a ton of crying and whining from both of them. Wow, fingers crossed. I also noticed that there weren't a lot of music or dance numbers in the first two movies, so I went ahead and jammed like 4 or 5 of them into this one to compensate. I guess it'll be fun want to have some good musical numbers in there? Oh no, they're gonna be really bad. Oh, they are? Yeah, one of the story threads is actually about how bad the first musical performance was. Like, MJ's gonna get fired from her Broadway play, she was so bad. So we're jamming a bunch of
She was
bad
so
music
bad.
and dance numbers in there. Exactly. Interesting strategy. I'm sure people won't see it coming. Probably not. So one of the things that people definitely liked in the first two movies were the villains. So tell me about the villain in this one. What's his deal? Which one? Oh, you have two villains? I have three villains. Oh, laying it on real thick. Okay, tell me about the three villains. Well, we're gonna have this guy Flint Marco turn into the Sandman. Okay, and what's his deal? Well, he has a sick daughter, so anytime he does something bad, it's not his fault. That's true. If you have a sick family member, you're not responsible for any of your actions. Exactly. Like last week, I heard my niece cough, so I went outside and stole a car. Not your fault. I know. That's what I explained to the screaming people inside the car. So how does he turn into the Sandman? Well, he escaped from prison, so as he's running from the cops, he falls inside a big science hole. Those things are all over the place. I know, and at this one, a bunch of scientists are doing tests on some sand at 2 a.m. and not following up on the results. Wow. So yeah, he completely turns to sand, but this little locket that his daughter gave him doesn't, so he has something to look at all sad-like. Oh, she gave him a locket? Yeah, apparently she realized that having a locket with a picture of herself was a little weird, so she gave it to her dad. That is a weird thing to carry around. Anyway, so to push things further with Sandman, later Peter and Aunt May are gonna get called to the police station. What for? Well, the police are gonna be like, guess what? It was actually the Sandman who killed Uncle Ben, but we didn't tell you because we didn't want to upset you. So why are they telling him now? Because they want to upset them now, I guess. Oh, suddenly deciding to upset people is tight. Yeah, and this way we can rewrite Uncle Ben's death to kind of shoehorn the Sandman in there. Why would we do that, though? It doesn't add anything. No. So Peter can have a deep personal connection with the villain. Is that really necessary for every single villain? Yes, always, forever. Well, okay then. We're also gonna have the Venom symbiote in this movie. Oh, people love Venom. They sure do, sir. And he's gonna be in the movie for about 5 minutes. That's more than enough Venom, right? Oh yeah, I mean, we need to leave room for all the musical numbers. Very true. So what's the backstory of the Venom symbiote? Important. It's gonna fall from space on a meteorite and land right next to Peter in Central Park. So what does Peter do? Well, he doesn't notice because he's in a web hammock kissing MJ. What about his spider sense? Oh yeah, I forgot that was a thing, so it's not gonna be a thing in this movie? Fair enough. Yeah, he's just gonna get blindsided left and right. He's not gonna see anything coming. That's okay. As long as we don't really bring up Spidey sense, I don't think people are gonna notice. Oh, well, Venom does have a line later where he's groping MJ and he's like, my Spidey sense is tingling, if you know what I mean. Oh, well, we can't cut that. That's a fantastic line. My thoughts exactly. So anyway, this symbiote is gonna turn Peter's suit black and make him kind of a jerk, but really cool. Oh, so he's like into jazz? I said he's cool. Of course he's into jazz. Just making sure. He also does a lot of finger guns and pelvic thrusts and dances in public to no music. Oh, none of that is gonna be physically painful to watch. Not in the least. He even says cool stuff like, now dig on this. Very cool. So anyway, eventually Peter's gonna get rid of the symbiote and it's gonna latch on to Eddie Brock. Oh, tell me about Eddie Brock. Well, he and Peter are fighting for the same photography job, right? Okay. And Peter discovers that Eddie faked a picture of Spider-Man. Unbelievable. So Eddie's like, come on, man, give me a break. Don't tell anyone. And Peter's like, you want forgiveness? Get religion. Oh, but he didn't ask for forgiveness. He asked for a break. Right, but there's gonna be a scene in a church later, so it's like foreshadowing. Doesn't really make sense for him to say that, though. It's a nod to something later. Yeah, but I mean, I'm a good writer. Oh, well, okay then. So what happens at the church? Well, Eddie goes there to be like, hey, God, could you please kill Peter Parker? That is how church works. And as it turns out, at the very same time, in the very same church, Peter's in the bell tower tearing off his symbiote suit. Wow, what a wacky coincidence. Yeah, so Eddie Brock's gonna be like, Parker, and then some symbiote's gonna fall on him. And he's gonna turn into Venom, and he's gonna turn into Venom. And all he wants to do now is kill Peter Parker himself. So he climbs up to the top of the bell tower. Oh, well, no, I just had to do a scary thing where he jumps at the camera. But isn't Peter just lying there naked at the top of the bell tower? I guess he must have woken up and swung home naked. I don't know. Fair enough. And then the other villain is Harry Osborn, and he's like the new Green Goblin. And why is he a villain? Well, he thinks that Peter killed his dad, so he wants to kill Peter. Oh, true. But towards the end of the movie, his butler's gonna be like, yo, your dad killed himself. I cleaned his wounds. I should know. Why did he wait so long to tell him? I don't know. That works for me. So then it's gonna be this big final fight of Harry and Peter versus Sandman and Venom. What are they fighting over? What do you think? Mary Jane got kidnapped? Mary Jane got kidnapped. I love that we always do that. It's just as exciting each time. Man, so it must have been tough to juggle all these villains in the same script. Actually, it was super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Oh, really? Yeah, throughout the script, I just had things happen to them that made them take little breaks from the movie. What do you mean? Well, like Harry bumps his head and forgets everything for a while. Oh, amnesia is always a great story. storytelling device. And then Sandman gets flushed down a sewer for a bit. Wow, and what about Venom? Oh, well, I just make the symbiote hang out in Peter's apartment doing nothing until I want it in the movie.
Yeah.
It just hangs out.
Yep.
Yeah, it just hitches a ride on Peter's scooter from Central Park and chills out. That's a very patient symbiote. So what do you think? Do you think all these story threads are gonna work? I think it's gonna work very well. Very well.
So I wanted to try to just do a compilation of Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man, 2002 all the way to Spider-Man 3, with both Honest Trailer and Pitch Meeting. Now, obviously, Honest Trailer did the whole trilogy in one video. Ryan George and Screen Rant, they did 3 separate videos for each film. So in the comments, let me know which was your favorite of these 4 videos, either the Honest Trailer or one of the Pitch Meetings. Don't just say Ryan George, don't just say Pitch Meeting. Let me know which Pitch Meeting if you choose a Pitch Meeting. So whether it's Spider-Man 1, 2, or 3, or the Honest Trailer for the Spider-Man trilogy, let me know. I will be doing a poll to let me know which of the 3 is your favorite. I know there's some people that have said that Spider-Man 3 is their favorite. I feel like that's just the worst of the bunch, really, of all the Spider-Man films. Even worse than Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, and those are bad. But I just didn't care for Spider-Man 3. It was a cool theater experience, like, overall, because all these movies really are just fun movies, but it's just a bad film. The whole emo Peter Parker thing was just weird. It just didn't fit. I didn't like it, hated it. I know they consider that Bully Maguire now. He shows up in a bunch of different things, in other videos, other Avengers videos too, which is they can be funny, but in the context of this film, I hated it. Now, I am still curious as to what Spider-Man 4 would have been like. They were in the process of trying to get that going, and this just didn't do well. Spider-Man 3, in this case, didn't do well enough for them to continue. Now, from what I've been reading, Toby Maguire is back as Spider-Man for Spider-Man 3 for the MCU with Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield, apparently. So there's a whole multiverse thing they're going to do there. That should be pretty interesting. I'm hearing that if Venom 2 and Morbius don't do well, that Sony's almost going to be forced to sell Spider-Man to the MCU or to Marvel. So that might be interesting to see, what happens there, if that happens, because then they could do a lot more stuff with the character and the other iterations if they want to continue this multiverse angle. So we'll kind of see how that goes. I think things are starting in WandaVision as well when it comes to creating this whole multiverse situation, because that does feed into the sequel to Doctor Strange. So Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We'll kind of see how it flows. I'm hoping we see some good stuff in WandaVision. So it kind of teases us a little bit as to what's going to happen. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Spider-Man is great. Spider-Man 2 is one of my favorite all-time films when it comes to superhero films. It's just fantastic. The first film was a really great experience though, seeing that in 2002. I remember going to see it and just thinking, this is amazing. Like, how can, superhero movies get any better? And, they were up and down. They were up and down. Some were good, some were terrible, some were great. But I think Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 are just, some of the best. And I think Spider-Man 3 might have something going for it because of how they lay the groundwork in Far From Home, which again wasn't my favorite. I enjoyed it, but Homecoming is better to me. But Spider-Man 3 I think could really be something special. So we'll see what they do. So again, just a reminder, let me know in the comments which one was your favorite of these videos, the Honest Trailer or which Pitch Meeting. You can only choose one, just one. And as far as what you think was funnier, what worked for you. And then I'm gonna put a poll out with which Spider-Man film is your favorite, which Toby Maguire Spider-Man film is your favorite. So look for that, vote. Let me know, like it, share it, let people know what we're doing here. I think that'd be awesome. If you did enjoy this video, smash that like button. I really appreciate that. It helps the channel grow and people to see what we're doing here. And then before you go, check out some of our other most popular videos on the channel. Got a lot of different videos that have really grown and people are watching those. So check those out. And then you can also check out one of our more recent videos. But if you've seen all that, then I'll see you guys in the comments for this one.